This dream starts out with a person who's pretty funky. He's probably a funk god too. So some of you might know him, but this is the dream. I'll just read the narrative as I wrote it down, in the immediate aftermath of experiencing it. Dreamed some of my interview quotes and photos from a detransition story became viral. And Joshua Slocum from the Disaffected podcast was talking about me on his show. He was showing all depressing images of me from when I was younger. It was embarrassing, and I felt anxious that people might judge me on them. But Josh's tone was not mocking. It was somber. He showed he had empathy for me. I also felt empathy for my younger self. I felt resolute that telling my story was ultimately important, but also somewhat doubtful that it was healthy for me. Then go to the next scene that I can remember. I was with my family and we were poor, or at least lacking for something. The childhood neighborhood felt cold, barren, nostalgic, but familiar. It was an uncanny valley situation. I walked the streets I knew well and looked at the houses, but felt uncomfortable. I was confused. There was some type of parade going on with colorful people walking around. I put on a super colorful rainbow outfit. I felt better and as if I blended in more, but I was still a bit anxious. I decided to do some LSD because everything was so colorful, pretty, and weird. It was also some kind of holiday or break for me, so I had the time and no responsibility. I wanted to occupy myself. I felt somewhat like I was a teenager in that moment. I did LSD and I saw the usual visuals, the swirling, and it was all very beautiful and sunny out, and I felt euphoric. There was music in the street and vendors and people around, but I don't remember any faces or interactions. I was separate from them, alone in my own world, but everything was very rainbow and colorful. I might have been skateboarding, which is something that I never do in real life. Then I went back to my parents' house / the childhood home and told my dad that I was on LSD. He was disappointed in me because he doesn't understand me or psychedelics. I went to my childhood room, and for some reason, I had to live there. So I figured I'd better update it with my new aesthetic as an adult. I changed the walls from their original color to more of an off-white and pink and yellow stripe design. It looked okay at first, but then I missed the original color, mint green. The new color felt unfamiliar and distant to me. Then I felt my inner child wanting it to be the color of her old room upstairs, purple and pink. I had a talk with my inner child and inner adult about how I would also like to have mint green back, how it was, but that I must integrate the childhood elements for my inner child as well as the adult. I saw that I certainly have plenty of decor and trinkets that pay homage to my childhood and inner child. The next scene I remember, I was with my sister at Target. She ran up to the store because she wanted to get there faster and possibly avoid something, maybe rain. But there was a female security guard who stopped her. She said it was illegal to do what she was doing. I was confused too. I was possibly still coming down from the LSD, or I just felt not quite sober for some reason, and I was anxious. I ran up to the security guard and my sister, and she told me again that it was illegal to do that, to run up to the store. I felt like that didn't make sense, and I was incredulous. I thought she must be targeting us for some other reason. She wouldn't let us get in the store. I'm not sure how we got out of that situation. I was trying to help my sister, but I didn't want to get arrested or charged for something either. The next scene I remember, was walking around outside some large buildings. Maybe there were apartment buildings, or maybe a large shopping center or a university buildings. I think it was the facade of my university buildings, but it was actually a mall. I was down below in the parking lot. It also felt like I was in Disney World for some reason. It felt like I was in Florida in terms of the climate and the foliage. I'm not sure what was happening there, and I can't remember anything else. The next scene I remember, I was walking around inside this really cool store. It was a department store that was connected to this avant-garde store that was all glow in the dark. All the shelves had lighting that faded in and out, so you could get time to see them in the light and in the dark, since there were both normal objects for sale and glow-in-the-dark objects. I saw this glow-in-the-dark statue that I thought was cool and I wanted to get. I wanted to get cool, weird decor for my apartment, but knew I shouldn't spend too much money, so I had to be selective. There were a lot of choices because there were a lot of objects that I liked. I immediately was drawn to a shelf with various ceramic African animals. There were many leopards, zebras, and lions. They were all cool, but I examined each one for the design that I liked the most. I found one statue that called to me above the rest, which was a leopard, but looked like a zebra. So it aesthetically and physically looked like a zebra, but it somehow had the energy of a leopard. I carried that with me around in the store until someone shouted my name. And they said, "Hey, Laura, I've been meaning to hang out with you for a while." I turned to where the voice was coming from, but didn't see anybody. I was staring at a shelf which had a display of windows. It was like a Christmas advent calendar where you open each window or tab, but it was more shadowy and it looked like the exterior of a tall apartment building. So like it was a shelf, but it was a big abstract space that looked like the outside facade of an apartment building at night, so that all the windows were kind of glowing. But it also reminded me of like a Christmas advent calendar thing where you kind of could peel away the tabs and then reveal something underneath. So there was an element of like mystery or almost like a game show. The building was really exciting, and I was really excited to see who was calling from me. I thought it sounded like the voice of an old elementary school friend, a girl I hadn't seen in many years since elementary school, but I hoped it was somebody else. No one in particular, but someone I had lost and left a deep hole in my heart. The voice didn't tell me who they were, but another voice, a man's voice I didn't recognize, said, "Hey, you get to pick one of these." And then a slat or one of the windows opened up, a display popped out with a small album disc in a sleeve. It looked vintage. It looked like it was from the 60s. I didn't recognize the song or artist name on it. The male voice said, quote, "There was a band called blank." So he said, "There's a band called this, but I don't remember what the name of the band was called." And this band diverged into 3 different groups responsible for a lot of music in the 80s. And one of them was Oingo Boingo. And I was like, Danny Elfman was in this band? And they said, not Danny Elfman, but somebody else. And I said, and I didn't know who. I thought that was cool, but what could I do with this album? I couldn't play it. I don't have a record player. The voices were talking to each other and as if they knew each other. And it felt like they knew something that I didn't know. And I felt left out. I wanted to be included in the conversation and know who they were. And then I remembered my zebra leopard statue on the shelf that I had put down. So I picked it up, make sure to take it with me, and I turned to walk away. And that is all I remember.